Hello everyone, in this video we'll be learning how ChatGPT gives responses. This is one of the most important lecture in this section because if we know how ChatGPT gives us response, we'll give it a prompt in a certain way that it gives us the desired and the best result. So we need to understand how ChatGPT gives us responses. So in the previous lecture, we discussed how NLP works, natural language processing, and how tokenization happens, how pre-training happens, how fine-tuning happens. So that is all concept you needed to learn this. Now see, if we uh, give a prompt to ChatGPT that what are the symptoms of let's say any of the disease, let's say the most common cough and cold. We all know what are the symptoms of this, but for example, if we give a prompt to this, by what do I mean by prompt? If you like say we search something on Google, but we don't search on ChatGPT, we give a prompt to ChatGPT because ChatGPT is just not a search engine. It could perform various tasks. So if we ask ChatGPT, what are the symptoms of cough and cold? So what is the first step that will happen? Uh, the first step that will happen is that using NLP, natural language processing, what will happen? The first step, tokenization will happen. ChatGPT will break it into tokens. Like what could be a token? ChatGPT and other AI tools, how they are designed, like in different cases, they take a token as a single word. In some cases, they take 3-4 letters as a token and next 3-4 characters as a token. In some cases, they take a single letter as a token, W, H, A, T. These are all different tokens. And usually, words are taken like this are the, you know, symptoms. So what happens is such a prompt is broken into tokens. So what is the now when tokenization is done, there the first process is training process. So what happens is that pre-training is done, data collection. ChatGPT is pre-trained on a diverse and extensive corpus of text from the internet. The dataset includes books, articles, websites, and other text sources capturing a wide range of topics and linguistic styles. So it has all the data. You know, first, when ChatGPT is made, it is already trained. It is like a pre-trained, so it is a generative pre-trained. That is why we call it GPT, and we can chat with it, and so how the name arises, Chat GPT. And it has different versions, 3.5, 4, 4.0. We'll be discussing about it in the next lecture. So what happens is that Chat GPT is pre-trained on a diverse and extensive corpus from the text. Now the objective of this is during pre-training to predict the next word in a sentence. This task is known as language model. Right, if I write what are the symptoms of, so it will predict the next word. Like for example, I am asking for cancer, for any of the other disease, so it works like that. And grammar, facts about the world, and some online reasoning abilities. Now it is self-supervised learning. The model learns in a self-supervised manner, meaning it uses the text itself as a source of supervision without requiring labeled data. So first, pre-training is basically a very broad concept. If we ask anything, what are the symptoms of a particular disease? So first, in pre-training, what will happen? It will go to all the diseases. Like for example, it will think I'm asking symptoms for a disease. Now it will fine tune according to cough and cold. So after the pre-training, the model undergoes fine-tuning on a narrow dataset which is carefully curated and reviewed by humans. This dataset includes examples of good behavior and instruction. Now again, supervised learning. Fine-tuning involves a supervised learning where human reviewers follow specific guidelines to rate and improve the model's responses, refining its ability to generate helpful and safe outputs. So this was the training process. uh, it happens before even we prompt. It is trained in such a way, ChatGPT. Now what happens is that response generation, what we have to understand. Response generation is that in as I told you, tokenization. First input, what do we prompt? Whatever the input we give to ChatGPT, so that input is processed, tokenization happens, the prompts are divided into tokens. When a user inputs a prompt, the text is broken down into smaller units called tokens. Tokenization involves splitting the text into words, subwords, or characters depending on the language model requirements. Now, there are some contextual encoding. The input tokens are fed into the model, which encodes the context using its pre-trained parameters. The model considers the entire input context to generate a coherent and contextually res appropriate response. So this is how input processing is done. First, the words are broken down into tokens. Then contextual encoding is done. A particular context and text is encoded. Now what happens? Transformer and attention mechanisms. So in the first lecture we have discussed the neural network and neural network architectures. So as we have discussed there, ChatGPT works on the transformer architecture. So what happens is that ChatGPT relies on a transformer architecture which includes layers of attention mechanisms that allow the model to focus on different parts of the input text. This helps the model to understand context, dependencies, and relationships between words. What are the words? What verb is used, what noun is used. It breaks everything and starts to recognize and understand what is the prompt. Now, self attention. What is self attention? The self attention mechanism enables the model to weigh the importance of different tokens in the input sequence, ensuring that it captures the relevant context for generating the next token. So, self attention mechanism uh, usually weigh the importance of different tokens. Like we don't have to give importance to verbs a lot. What are the nouns? So, nouns will have a you know a better and more weight. How much the importance way, not the actual weight, nothing like that. Now, decoding. Next token prediction. The model generates responses by predicting the next token in sequence iteratively. The process continues until a complete coherent response is formed. Now, how a response, as you have seen in ChatGPT, some words are there, then takes a little bit of pause, then some words come up. So, why it happens? Decoding. Next token prediction. The model generates responses by predicting the next token in the sequence iteratively, and till but good response is found, it does this. Now what happens is that decoding strategies. Now there are several strategies like greedy search, selecting the token with the highest probability at each step. Now these are different kind of strategies as we have discussed in the previous lecture, like greedy search, beam search, sampling. Beam search is basically exploring multiple potential sequences and choosing the one with highest overall probability. What is the probability that the user is asking the prompt, and that is the particular answer. Sampling, randomly selecting the next token based on probability distribution, often with used with temperature setting to control randomness. Now post processing, detoxification is done. As you know, humans detoxify when they when pollutants are there in their body. So detoxify means what? Remove all the toxins. So techniques like filtering and detoxification are applied to ensure that the generated text adheres to safety and ethical guidelines, reducing the likelihood of harmful or inappropriate outputs. Like it has a lot of ethics. It will never give you wrong output or wrong answer of wrong prompt. You understand? Wrong, right? Now, relevance and coherence. The final output is checked for relevance, coherence, and appropriateness based on the input context and the model's training. Now comes the third part, interaction flow. So how it happens? User prompt. The user provides an input prompt which can be a question, a command, or any text requiring a response. You can search anything, you can tell ChatGPT to do something, to memorize something, or it could be in a form of question. Now model processing, encoding. The prompt is encoded into tokens and processed through the model's layers. Context understanding. The model uses its learned knowledge to understand the context and generate a relevant response. Now, how response generation is done, token prediction and decoding strategy, and then output delivery is done. I have explained you everything in this video, all these terms. So there is a summary. ChatGPT generates responses through a combination of pre-training on vast data sets, fine-tuning with human-reviewed examples, and sophisticated processing using transformer architecture and attention mechanisms. The model tokenizes input text, encodes context, predicts next tokens, and decodes them into coherent responses, ensuring relevance and safety through post-processing techniques. This intricate process enables ChatGPT to interact effectively with users, providing informative and contextually appropriate responses. So this is how ChatGPT generates a response, and it has a great responsibility that it doesn't give a wrong output, as in it could make an error. In when you use ChatGPT, there is a line below the where you prompt, so it is written there ChatGPT can make mistake. So I'm not talking about the mistakes which AI could make. I'm talking about the mistake which is ethically wrong. So in the post processing, after we have got a response, the post processing it detoxifies so that no unethical response is given. So this is how ChatGPT gives responses. Let us revise. The training process is done beforehand, pre-training, fine-tuning, all the text. Then response generation, when we input something, tokenization is done. Then encodings is done. Embeddings are there. It has a lot of parameters. It will go to like different parameters as ChatGPT 3.5 as 175 billion parameters. So it will go to all the parameters and collect all the knowledge, all the data, and then it will decode. So this is how it works. So more number of parameters also have a disadvantage, as if we give a same prompt like what are the symptoms of cough and cold, you may get different, might get, there is a probability, a good amount of probability that you might get a different response and I get a different response. It may not be, it may be language wise different or a little bit different. Some points, some portion of the response would be different, but not everything. So this is how ChatGPT gives us responses. And so more number of parameters also have some advantages, that like you could ask it anything, it has more number of parameters. But it also has some disadvantage if the token that is being embedded, if the embedding is done wrong, and in the vector 3D model, if it reaches a wrong place, then it might be a problem. So everything has pros and cons. So this is how chat gpt gives us a response. We'll be covering one more lecture in this section, like what are the different versions of chat gpt and what it all offers. And then finally we'll be moving to prompt engineering, what you all guys are waiting for. That's it for this lecture, and I'll meet you in the next lecture.